So, I don't know what channel I'm going to put this on, but I want to try to explain why I stopped giving DMT to people, right? Because when I first got into DMT, it was the only psychedelic I did. So, like, it was the thing for me. Like, I did DMT hundreds of times before I ever tried mushrooms. Like, before I ever even knew what mushrooms really were. Like, I knew about DMT. And I practiced this thing with it. So because I was learning about shamanism, I seen that like the modern shamans of today, right, they give ayahuasca to people. They like give them this thing. But as I did more research about shamanism and the history of it, I see in the past the shamans didn't really give people the ayahuasca. It was more the shaman would take the ayahuasca and then he would kind of analyze the person, and then by the end of his ayahuasca experience he would be able to tell the person which plants they need. So like maybe they need to take this one plant for 2 weeks, and then when you're done with that plant take this other plant for 3 weeks, and then you'll be okay, and then come back to me and see me and whatever. Like it was a whole different thing, because the shaman was like the person that went on the shamanic journey, not just someone that was giving others this thing. Now, shaman has evolved even in Native American cultures. Like, it's not just like me talking about modern shamanism. No, shamanism as a whole is modernized because capitalism got its hands in everyone. And like, I get it, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just what is. So, like, I was giving DMT to people, and I was doing it for free, right? Like, but I gave DMT to, like, I don't know, probably over 100 people. But there was a problem that happened, okay? The problem that happened was, I, so this one dude was staying at my house, and he was like would not let me go to sleep because he kept saying he wanted to go where I've gone. Right now, that was the first problem. His ego was involved. So he wanted to like go to the city of light, see what I've seen, like this whole thing. And I kept telling him no because like I've given him DMT, but not as much as I would take. Like because I would take a lot of like you need a blast off dose to fully blast off into the world. But those blast off doses, there's no coming back. So it's like, or at least until it's over. But like, so I kept telling him no. So eventually, he wouldn't let me go to sleep. It's like midnight. So eventually, I'm like, okay, whatever. So I packed the bong with the DMT, and like, originally I was trying to go a little lighter than what I normally do. Like, but he's kind of noticed, and he's like, is that how much you would normally put in your, like, he said a little, like, so I added a little more, because I didn't have a scale at the time, but I mean, I gave him at least 80 to 100 milligrams. Like, it wasn't a little bit, because when I finally got a scale and seen, like, this is how much DMT I be trying to use to blast off with, it was anywhere between 60 to 100 milligrams. So, like, that was what I, like, about 80 milligrams I probably gave him. And then he blasts. But when he blasts, he just kept screaming, bring me back, bring me back, bring me back. Like, I mean, screaming. Like, he was laying on my bed. I was sitting on this, like, chair thing across from my bed. And he laid back. And then 5 seconds later, he just started saying, bring me back. At first, it was calmly. Then he started screaming it, freaking out. And whether his eyes were open or closed, he couldn't see me. So like he just grabbed my like thighs because I was sitting down. He put his head on my thighs, just holding my leg, just screaming, bring me back, bring me back. And bro, that was the last time I've given anyone DMT, because that scared the fuck out of me. You know what the scariest thing was to The thing that I found out that was the scariest for me with DMT was not me inside those experiences. It was me watching someone else inside that experience not want to go through that experience. Like, and it also made me realize something. Just because you smoked 80 milligrams of DMT does not mean you're going to quote unquote see what I've seen. Like, because that was his problem. It was the ego. Like, he knows all these things that I've done, like all these DMT trips that I've had. Like, but I tried explaining to him, like, it's not just the DMT. You have to learn how to let go. You have to learn how to, like, silence your mind for a little bit. You need to learn how to meditate. There's a focus technique that I tried to teach him, how to, like, just put a dot on the wall and train yourself to focus on that dot, like, for a longer period of time, right? There's things that I did to train myself for it. But to most people, that sounds crazy because most people got into psychedelics at a party with their friends, like mushrooms or LSD or some fun shit, so they don't understand preparing for the shamanic journey, right? Preparing yourself for this thing. So it's like, it just made me realize, like, I don't want to just be giving people DMT without them being prepared. Like, people need to meditate first. People need to work on their minds first. People need to learn how to let go, not be so attached to everything. Like, not be so attached to who they think they are. Not be so attached to wanting to be right. Not be like, because that's what letting go means so much shit, right? Like, it also means that if the DMT hits and you think you died, okay, you died. Let it go. Accept it. Like, and if that sounds crazy, then of course you're going to be in the experience of when you hit that moment of the DMT breakthrough, you're going to resist it. Any resistance will keep you out of it because the dude was just stuck in the tunnel the whole time. He said he got stuck in the tunnel and there was an entity that blocked him from going any further. And the entity probably blocked him because he was freaking out. He just kept screaming, "Bring me back, bring me back, bring me back," like screaming, crying, holding my legs, just the whole thing. And like, there was nothing I could do. Like, I couldn't do anything because I know at that dose there's not a damn thing that can happen. You have to wait for it to end. And that scared the fuck out of me. And I have not given DMT to anyone since. Well, I did it with my ex once, but like we didn't do a high dose, so she didn't really have an experience with it. But like, yeah, because before that point, right? That was 2016. I was just getting into other psychedelics because I just tried LSD for the first time that year in 2016. So because I first tried LSD that year, like, I was just learning about other psychedelics. Like, I was just learning about other things because I didn't really know what the modern humans thought of psychedelics. I just knew what the shamanic perspective was of psychedelics. Like, modern humans have this fear of DMT, this fear of the bad trip, this fear of these things, but like the shamans looked at it like it was the spirit world and they just had a different perspective. So like, I didn't know that other humans had this other perspective of the psychedelics until I started doing DMT with other people. I started doing other psychedelics. I started seeing that there are all these different perspectives, but then I started seeing that DMT is the deepest thing. Like, so I started realizing how real DMT was to people, how much there is a fear that people have of letting go. Like, it's not normal for people to travel dimensions when they use psychedelics, but it was normal for me because that's what I did. That's what I thought psychedelics were. That's what I thought the point was, because that was the point for me when I was doing DMT, because it was the only psychedelic I had for like 2 years. So like, I don't know. It was just this whole thing of like, it was a giant realization that this is no joke. That the shamans are right. That shit is the spirit world. That shit is shattering. It's shattering if you hit a point where you don't know your name anymore because you're so attached to who you think you are. You think you're human. You think you're your name. You think you're a man. You think you're a woman. You think you're a whatever the fuck you think. But that's the problem. You think. And even in those the greatest DMT trips that I've had are the ones that I didn't think. I didn't attach my ideas to it. I let it just take me. And like, because if I went through that experience that he went through, I would not have said bring me back because I would have just accepted where I was going. I wouldn't have held on. But when you hold on, it makes the experience way worse. So like, I'm going to get up out of here because someone's mowing some lawn over there and they're probably going to come over here pretty soon. But I don't know. I just wanted to give you guys this story about this because it made me realize some shit that this is no joke. Shamanism is real. Like, DMT is real. Like, yeah, there are humans out there that say, maybe it's not real. Maybe it's just your brain. They're just like dreams or all this. Yeah, that's all their ego's excuses so they don't have to face that fear of how real it really is. Because you can be in denial about it, but when you're faced with it, there is no more denial. That's what the dude was faced with. That he was on this ego perspective of, I want to see what you've seen. But once you start to see it, you realize that it's not just, you're not seeing it, you're inside of it. Like, there's a difference between, the difference between doing DMT and not having a breakthrough and doing DMT and having a breakthrough is when you do not have a breakthrough, you're seeing this thing. When you have the breakthrough, you are then inside of the thing. You are no longer inside of this world. Like, you're gone. Like, literally gone. But it's easier to go if you know how to let go, if you know how to, like, whatever. And what's funny about letting go is if you learn how to let go, you can break through on 50 milligrams of DMT. You can probably break through on 40 because you can learn how to push the door open. Like, you can learn how to, like, I don't know, there's techniques that you can learn, but that's what I mean. If you're not willing to put the work in to learn those techniques, you won't have those experiences because when you get faced with them, you won't know what to do with them, right? Like, I don't know. It's some real shit. So, like, that's why I haven't given DMT to people since. Because it scared me. That I don't want to just sit there and be the reason why everyone's fucking traumatized and shit. Like, because DMT is my greatest trauma in life. It's funny to say that, but it's true. Like, there's nothing more traumatizing than a real DMT breakthrough. But, like, it's your perspective of it. It's what you do with it, right? That's with all trauma in life, with everything you go through. It's all about your perspective. And it's like, I just have a shamanic perspective, which allows me to have the experiences that I have. But if you don't have a shamanic perspective, you're not going to have the same experiences because you're going to get faced with the same shit, but then you're going to freak out instead of accepting it. And it's all based off your perspective of it. Like, of course, if you think you're dying, you're going to freak out. But if you understand death isn't real and it's just a transition of dimensions, you're just transitioning dimensions. That's all. And you let go and you go with it. And the scariest part is you don't know if you're going to come back or not. You have to accept that, right? Like, well, you don't have to, but like, I don't know. It just makes the breakthrough easier. It just makes the experiences easier. That's how you don't have bad trips. You learn to accept them for what they are. Just trips.